but it is nothing like what you're seeing in Little Rock and across the Sun Belt. What needs to be done this weekend to assist the Sun Belt in this pandemic?
Well, Tom, Francine, good to be with you. Governor Hutchinson here, the governor of Arkansas, has recently signed an executive order for a common mask requirement if mayors want to pursue that, so that it would be consistent across the state. I think we all now know after these months that we have to live with this virus, and to live with the virus, people have to follow the CDC guidelines of wearing a mask in public and having social distancing. That would be the number one thing we can do, as you say, in the Sun Belt, would be to follow those CDC guidelines.
Well, then how are we going to do this? I mean, Mayor Scott in Little Rock has had a real challenge with people flagrantly avoiding what Dr. Fauci and other scientists say. Where does the attitude adjustment come from if the governor of Florida says, open this, and they're opening Disney World this coming week?
Well, for example, here in Little Rock, where we had a local bar not follow the social distancing guidelines or the masking rules, they were threatened and closed by the state. And I think that sent shock waves to all bar operators, particularly, I would say, to follow those guidelines and enforce them through their own personnel.
What are the guidelines, Representative Hill, and good morning from London, that will change in the coming weeks? Do you have an effective track and trace program? Are you comfortable with the level of guidance that you're getting right now?
Yeah, we have. We're doing about 12,000 per 100,000 testing here. We've put a lot of money in testing. We've hired a lot of tracers that are working to keep up with the caseload. We're using the CARES Act money here in the state of Arkansas to pay for our tracing program and, of course, the testing funds for expanding testing. What we run into now is because of the hot spots, which Arkansas has been one in northwest Arkansas and in Florida and Texas, we're back to needing more reagents for testing to speed up the turnaround time for testing. Our delegation's written Vice President Pence on this. I know President Hutchinson has called, Governor Hutchinson has called President Trump about it. And that's something that we need to consider, again, using the federal government power to increase the production of those reagents, or we're not going to be able, Francine, to keep up with the testing that we need, not only here, but across the country.
Do you have a number, Congressman, of what the Senate needs to come up with for the next round of stimulus? We have guests on that are speaking of $1.5 trillion. Could French Hill outdo that with a bigger statistic?
Well, I've heard numbers smaller than that, Tom, coming out of Senate discussions in the areas of extending and reforming the unemployment payment, continuing the PPP program for small businesses, giving more guidance to our governors to how to use that state and local money that we send out to all the states, and dealing with the liability issue. And I have a real need from talking to my teachers and our school superintendents. Do we have the right amount of funding to get our schools open safely for both our teachers and for our families? So I don't know that it'll be that large, but I know that members on both sides of the aisle are working hard on looking at those gaps that we should try to fill as we continue to fight the virus.
Congressman, this may be a dumb question, but from Europe, I just wonder when wearing a mask became so political. It seems that the U.S. is so divided in dealing with the health crisis, which is apolitical. Like, what happened and how do you get back on track?
Yeah, Francine, this is a great question, really. I think the initial problems was the mixed messages coming from Dr. Fauci and others earlier in the crisis, and that's been just spread through our community. Is it valuable? Is it not valuable? If both people have them on, is it really working? And so the federal government gave a lot of mixed messages. Here's the bottom line. it reduces the spread. If people wear them when they cannot socially distance, it reduces the spread. And you are doing your part to stop this virus so we can get this economy fully open. And I was thinking, Tom, I bet people complained like hell during World War II about gas rationing coupons. Well, they were necessary to fight the war, and wearing a mask is a modest thing to do to help fight the virus and get our economy back open.